Thank you, Lord, for blessing us with a great day and for safe arrival of all of our tribal counselors. We ask your blessings of recovery and good health for all suffering with COVID and other illness. Please bless our active military and our veterans. Guide our words and actions today as we once again serve our Cherokee citizens to the best of our abilities. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, Shelley, roll call, please.
Victoria Vasquez,
Ani?
Joe Bird, Keith Austin, Harley Buzzard, Sean Crittenden, Joe Deere,
He's on screen.
Mike Dobbins, Kanan Duncan, Rex Jordan, Daryl Legg, Wes Nofire, Dora Petzkowski, Mike Shambaugh, Mary Bakershaw, E.O. Smith, Janice Taylor. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Shelley. I'd like someone to make a motion for approval of minutes if everyone's had a chance to read them from last month. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, we're ready for our reports, and the first one would be from Molly Jarvis. Hi, Molly.
Hi, good morning.
Good
Glad to
morning.
be with you all via Zoom.
Great. I understand that you're reporting as well for Historical Society for Paul Buckner after your cultural tourism report.
Yes, if it's okay, I'll just include that in my report.
Sure, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. I'll get started here and I'll hit our key highlights in the report and then see if there are any questions. The first update I'd like to provide is about some planning we've been doing for the entire year, working in collaboration with Cherokee Nation language departments, and specifically Roy Boney and Howard Payton. We are preparing exhibits and programming throughout 2021 to mark the 200th anniversary of the Cherokee syllabary. So this will include some original exhibits in all of our museums that highlight Sequoia and the syllabary, include virtual programming, some special events, and lots of social media highlights. So we, again, are working in strong collaboration with our language department to make this 2021 200th anniversary very significant and make sure we get the message out about this important language and that it is alive and well today. And then I'll move right into an update about the Cherokee Heritage Center. CMB is working closely with Cherokee Nation and the Cherokee National Historical Society as we move through the transition plan. And this includes some key elements, including we're doing a current assessment of the physical plant for the Heritage Center, looking at recommendations and potential improvements on the campus there in terms of buildings and just physical assets. Then we did have a successful transition of Cherokee Heritage Center employees to CMB, and that took place and is complete, and that happened in November. We are working on the strategic plan that is set in the legislation to be completed by April 2021. And that will focus on future programming for the Heritage Center and how to support that programming, facility, and organizational structure. And we look forward to bringing that to council when complete in April. And then moving on to talk about the archives and collections, which were or have been declared in a state of emergency. We are currently working on a plan to build out a what's considered a temporary, although it may be there, 3 to 5 years, storage facility in Tahlequah that would provide better improved environmental controls and the actual preservation environment that's needed for those precious items that are in the archives and collections. This space will also provide 2 collection rooms and ability for people to social distance. But the two of the biggest things are the ability for the general public to be able to access the archives and collections. And so our scholars, our community members, our artists will be able to come into that space to do research or just spend some time with some of those items that are in the collection. And this space would also include our genealogy department and staff. And then moving on through the report, we've also been working directly with the Dwight Mission Board of Directors and are in discussions with them to transfer that property to Cherokee Nation, and we'll be working on formalizing that and then working directly with Cherokee Nation to determine future uses for that property. Another are working on is in Veneta. We have acquired a property there that was the former Veneta Country Club. It's located just off of I-44 on Route 66. And we're working to develop this property, and it will be a mixed-use welcome center, gift shop, gallery, and some cultural programming space for artists and artisans. And we expect the completion of this in late fall 2021. All of our museums, gift shops, and welcome centers have reopened and are operating successfully. This includes safety procedures and physical distancing to keep our staff and the public safe, and all are required to wear masks at this time still. And then moving into some of the other projects that we have, we finalized the acquisition of the Will Rogers Birthplace Museum and are working to transfer the operations, and that should be complete in February. And then we're doing the assessments and inspections of that property, and we'll report back on any improvements needed. Then the next item is the cultural pathway in downtown Tahlequah. And a reminder that this is an area we presented in previous reports. It's a connection for all of our downtown cultural resources, all the way from the National History Museum, crossing the street to the Supreme Court Museum, and then going through the Arts Center and Kawi Cafe and connection all the way to the prison. So this would be a pathway that would include cultural art, public art space outside, and just be a really nice connector of all of those cultural assets throughout downtown, and provide a safe place for visitors to walk through to see all of those different sites. As you know, we operate the 2 Cherokee Nation Welcome Centers that are in Kansas and Catoosa. And then the state provided funding through some that they have received to do some renovations to these welcome centers. And that included a remodel at Kansas that focused on interior renovations and exterior improvements. They did things like add doors that open automatically to make them touchless, to provide more cleanliness and safety. But they also enhanced the outdoor space, so to encourage people to spend more time outdoors, as we've all done through the pandemic. And then Tulsa improvements focused on the grounds outside, the addition again of an outdoor plaza, better signage, and a dog park. And then one of the other items we've reported on before is the Cecil Dick mural that was at Oak Hill Piney, and it is being conserved. That work should be completed in early 2021. And then plans are to relocate that mural so it can be viewed and accessible by many people, but most likely at the Sam Hyder Health Clinic in Jay. In terms of our operations, the gift shop sales at online with CherokeeGiftShop.com have done very well over the last few months as people have shopped from home, and we're up 40% over the previous year. Another piece of virtual programming that we were very happy to get in place was the virtual Cherokee Art Market that was held in December. And the artists who participated there were able to have 10 items each in the market, but participating artists reported a sales of more than $142,000 And we were very pleased with that result for our first virtual market, and glad to be able to bring that. So we didn't have to have a year without the Cherokee Art Market. And then the last two items I wanted to touch on are current exhibits that we have. National History Museum, we have the Through the Lens exhibit. And then at Saline Courthouse, our featured artist this month is Cherokee National Treasure Clesta Manley, and her work will be on exhibit through the end of February. And I believe that brings me to the end of my report, if there are any questions.
Any questions for Molly? I do have, go ahead, Councilor Crittenden.
Yeah. Molly, on the Heritage Center, has there been any talks about, not necessarily the amphitheater, and those talks would be good too, but a stage, an outdoor kind of stage there at the Heritage Center?
So part of the master plan that we'll include, we will also do a master site plan that will include the entire campus, and we can absolutely include feasibility for some outdoor programming. And I think I would guess that with our social distancing and everything we've learned through the last 9 months of how important outdoor space is, I would suspect that would be a very important element. So I'll make sure to have a note of that.
Okay, I've always, there's lots of Cherokees here, and there's lots of people looking for things to do, and, art, in my opinion, there's artists of all kinds, and, there's Cherokee artists musically as well, is what I believe. So, yeah, if you could include that in your conversations. I just think a venue, I don't know, where we have our fiddle contest now, I guess that's a great place to have it, but, just different things like that. I have lots of ideas that we could do with that. Thank you for considering that, Molly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sean. Those are important ideas, and I'd like to talk to you about them too. Molly, I have a question about the Celine exhibits, and I'm planning to take a couple of people to see that in the next month or so. And on sales of things like the artist's works, how is that working? I'd forgotten how you do that. If you see something there and you want to buy it, can you buy it on site? Will there be a museum person there, or?
Yes. There's a museum staff on site, and yes, people are able to purchase items either at the museum or directly with the artist. But yes, definitely.
Okay. Great, thank you. And we have a question from Councilor Legg.
Hey, Molly. First, I asked you to call me this morning, but I don't need you to now, so I sent you another email. When this Heritage Center is going to be complete, if we was to go to Cherokee, North Carolina, and as long as we had our Cherokee Nation ID, we can go anywhere for free. Are we going to do the same thing? Is that going to be reciprocated for our Eastern Band?
That's one thing we're looking at as a comprehensive plan for the Heritage Center. A couple of years ago, we made the move to make all of the museums that we were currently operating free to the general public. So I think in terms of the master plan with the Heritage Center, we will look at how it fits into the program that we have for the rest of our museum inventory, and certainly that would be a consideration.
Councilor Smith?
Yes, on the Dwight Mission project, I would gladly sit in on any meetings you're going to have or anything. Don't hesitate to call me or any legwork or anything. If you would keep me and Councilman Legg update on what's going on, as we receive calls weekly on people wanting Dwight Mission back because it looks so bad now, and it just makes a lot of people so sad. So if you would keep us updated, we'll help any way we can. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We can send you and Councilor Legg some some regular updates. We'll put that on our agenda to do.
Speaker Byrd?
Yes, Molly, first, I'm glad you brought up the 200th anniversary of the syllabary. This year, we will have our tri-council of the 3 federal recognized tribes of the Cherokees, and we're going to be the host this year. So Gail and I have been meeting and talking with the Eastern Band people. So if you have any ideas or input on how to celebrate that component, then we would more and happy to do that, because it's a big deal. And so my daughter was getting ready the other day. She was putting on this Sequoia outfit. I said, "Where are you going?"
Yes.
And she said, "I get to play
And-
Sequoia today." And I was really
Yes.
excited for her. I said, "How come they didn't ask me?" And I know why, because she can speak, she can articulate, and that's her background. So I'm from NICA. We didn't have that kind of training back where I'm from. But anyway, the transition from the Heritage Center, how many employees did not make the transition?
Everyone transitioned. 2 employees remained at Cherokee Nation in the education department, I
Okay.
believe.
Okay,
Yes, and I will make a comment to you about that. Sorry, back to the Sequoia video. I was going to say, as of yesterday, that has been our #1 viewed video ever. I think it had more than 18,000 views yesterday.
really? Well, we're still paying on her student loan, so some of it's helped out. And I want to commend you and your staff, and, the council members from Sequoia County. Years ago, when Sam Ed Bush was still on the council, we had strategic meetings there at the White Mission. And a lot of the elderly people from that area always asked, how come this doesn't belong to us? Because we've always taken care of it. This is in our area here. And now you guys are able to obtain it back. That is a good deal. I want to thank the council members from Sequoia County for being part of that. That is really a big deal for a lot of our people in that area, Molly. So job well done.
Well, it's been a group effort with many, many people. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Do we know the timing for the meeting yet?
Which meeting?
Tri-council?
We are
What is the date?
looking at that. Gail and I talked this morning, so I will have her keep you informed. We're communicating with the president of their council there, so we're shooting for, I know maybe May, sometimes late April, but we'll keep you informed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
If no other questions, we'll let Molly continue her reporting. Thanks, Molly.
Thank you. And Deputy Speaker, I was just going to add for Celine, there's also a gift shop option to purchase online for featured artist.
Great, thank you.
Received that Veterans Award at Tribal Council about a year ago. And you might look in those pictures.
Does that complete all your reporting, Molly?
Yes, I believe so. Was there a question for me?
I think we're done. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Next up is our Cherokee Nation Language Department. Do we have Howard Payton?
He looked like himself.
Howard Payton, is he online?
Yes.
Well, thank you. You're so kind. I appreciate that.
I want to, as a side note, I want to state that
Tahlequah can find
personally, I'm really excited about the White Mission and us.
I can see you, but we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
He was, Daddy was the plant manager. That's when he designed the golf course.
I can hear
Is it
Mary
here?
talking.
Texas across America. It's a big, beautiful book.
Mary Lou.
He's listed for designing that golf course.
Can you hear me now?
And
Mary, we're hearing you talk, and we need to hear Howard.
let's see. Yeah, Sequoia doesn't have any. My God, it's.
Maybe I need to speak louder. Can you hear me?
Better. Yes, thank you, Howard. Continue.
Okay.
It has been extended family to.
All right. I'll just speak a little louder. I want to congratulate Ms. Jarvis about the White Mission. 4 years ago this March, I lost my father, and one of the last things we did was take a trip to the White Mission, because that was where he went to school for a time. And I know that he would be really, really excited today to hear that Cherokee Nation is taking that over. And that means a lot to my family. So I just wanted to add that in as a side note. Last time I reported, we did not make a shout out to our our grant department, we talked about 3 different grants the Department of Language received, but we did not say anything about the hard workers that work on them grants. And so I just want to take a brief time to correct that and give a shout out to Tanya Johnson, Julie Catron, Aaron Bailey, Sydney Kernick. I believe I pronounced the right name right. Perhaps I didn't, but they really, really worked hard and helped us get some very valuable grants that will help us with the language department. While we're giving shout outs, Department of Language has helped with the COVID vaccination. We're helping vaccinate our speakers, and while being involved in that, there was a young lady that has helped us schedule most of them. Her name is Mary Anderson, and she has been a tremendous help. Of course, Dr. Jones, Sarah Kimmery, and Brian Hell has just went out of their way to help us with everything we asked. Initially, we was getting a lot of phone calls from the different speakers, and at that point, we was just sending them in, and they was doing the call. As a few weeks passed, we joined their efforts, and we went to the COVID clinic and just started helping schedule there to get them in. And I think there's an estimated amount of about 900 to 1,000 speakers that has been vaccinated because of that joint effort, and that is tremendously of the utmost importance to us as a language department, and it could not have been done without the wonderful help of Dr. Jones and his staff. And they just treated us great. So to get into our report, spring online class registration will be open in February. The exact date is not determined yet, but that will be coming soon. Cherokee Language Master Apprentice program are getting ready for their spring cohort. We received 71 new applications. Of them 71, we will be picking eight new students. Language outreach, Roy Boney is Ms. Jarvis had talked a little bit, has been interviewed by Cherokee Nation Cultural Tourism for a video about the 200th anniversary of Cherokee Syllabary. We'll be, throughout the year, we will be involved in that. So we're celebrating the whole year. It's quite an accomplishment. Our language staff have helped with the vaccination process as far as an online COVID hotline, and some of them have helped with translations, or Kimball, or actually being there. If it wasn't online, some of our elder speakers needed that extra attention. I want to give a shout out to Sammy Steele, Betsy Bunch, David Crawler, Anna, and Dennis Sixkiller that has really helped with that. Mr. Sixkiller is continuing with Cherokee Voices, Cherokee Sounds Radio show. Translations staff continues to work with the University of New Mexico researchers on transcribing the Cherokee language interviews of previous interviews. That has been really good work. We have a linguist working on that. We met with him a little bit yesterday, and he's just really excited to see the different things that he has learned. He's been coming out here for quite some time during the summer. Of course, this last year we had the pandemic, but he thinks that this is one of the biggest initiatives that he has been involved in, and documenting and learning different pitches and et cetera, especially from different communities. So that has been a wonderful project, and it's ongoing. Of course, we're continue to receive requests for language materials. Roy's department has helped with that. A lot of posters, a lot of USB drives to schools, and et cetera. Also want to talk a little bit about Booker T. Washington. We've met with them a couple of times. They're wanting a Cherokee language elective class in that school, and so we're trying to work and find out exactly what will help them. And so I know that Councilman Deere has been involved with that as well, and that is an ongoing process that we're trying to figure out the best thing for them. The different language projects, living language, we're in pre-production and planning to begin the RSU television Cherokee 2 language telecourse. The course will be offered as a college credit. The Living Language grant has also provided a limited number of concurrent enrollment scholarships for juniors and seniors in high school. So this is something we'll definitely be looking at very soon, and I know a lot of that will be coming in the fall of this year. The NLCC, the department is collaborating to revise the Oklahoma State Cherokee language teacher certification process. This is something that we've been meeting quite a bit about. Revise that test with the state, and we worked on that in December, and we're looking at the next steps and hitting the different benchmarks that we need to hit for that. Cherokee Teacher Bridge project, we just working on a reorg. We was able to open up some positions this week for Cherokee Teacher Bridge and the Institute of Excellence, and that should be going very, very well. We also continue to work with our online platform and getting the immersion school teachers and students, gearing that up for this next semester. Immersion school is still online, and we're trying to come up with every tool we can come up with to teach our students safely and use the things that we have in the 21st century to be able to do that. And so that goes into a lot of our special projects, from games to our cartoon and that sort of thing that we've been working on. I do want to mention this last year we've estimated lost 135 speakers. We've documented around 122, 125. I know that we're missing a few. I think that Tom's is looking at doing a pretty good size video honoring them. So there'll be a few of those that know our community. There'll be a few that's not on that list, but that's a lot. I think last year we looked at 110 that we lost. We was hoping that we would it would be around 100 or a little less this year, but this pandemic has changed that quite a bit. I know this month alone we've already lost, I believe it was 18 or 19 when I checked this morning for this month. And last month I believe it was 18 as well. And so I think with the vaccination, we'll start seeing that trend start to go down the next few months. To have big months like this where we're losing speakers is scary to us, and we're trying our best to figure out ways of making our speaking population more safe. So I know that I don't think we've seen, it's been several years since we've seen a month where we have 18, 19, 20 speakers pass in 1 month. So I'm ready for this to be over, and I'm ready for our speaking population to be safe. At this time, I'll try to answer any questions that you guys have.
Any questions from the committee members? Yes, Councilor Taylor.
Howard, I'm curious, I know it's been about a 2-year project trying to get a handle on just how many speakers we do have left. Have you got a pretty good idea how many we have currently? And also, as you were speaking, I'm wondering about the percentage of speakers that we have lost.
I think we're looking at right at about 35 that we've lost. Somewhere in that, this council lady Taylor is we've ended up, when we started looking at vaccinations, calling and spending that time with each family and saying, okay, is this COVID or is this not? It became a little harder because we was focused on vaccination. The issue is a lot of times a family will say this is they had COVID, but it wasn't necessarily COVID, and some folks can believe that was actually COVID or not, but we let the family say what they believe, and it's not up to us. So if the family's saying this is COVID, so that takes a little bit of time, but as they start calling and texting, it looks like we've lost about right at 35 is what our estimate is. Unfortunately, there's a lot of them that probably are not going to the hospital or doctor when normally they would in a time that we didn't have a pandemic. And so, although it may not be COVID, to me it's related to that because their health care, they're scared. And hitting on cognac, it's scary. So they're trying to do the best they can. And the first question, remind me again.
The first question was, I believe you've spent 2 to 3 years trying to determine exactly how many speakers we have left. And I'm just wondering if you have a pretty good handle on how many there are.
So in August of 2018, we started that process, and we had took snippets of time that we looked at it, in 2002, 2013, and there's months that, like in June and July of 2013, 1 month we lost 33, another month we lost 34, so the population dwindles, the amount that's passing from us dwindles as well. At the time that we completed the speaker row, we was looking at between 2,000 and 300, 2,300, somewhere in there is what was exactly looking. Me and Councilman or Speaker Byrd has talked several times. Never did we dream that doing the speaker row we never dreamed that we'd be using it for pandemic, but what that allowed us, they gave us addresses, they gave us names, they gave us date of birth. And so we was able to take that list and start calling. So right at 2,000 is still somewhere in there, maybe a little less. It was at the time we stopped, it was upward of 2,300 or around 2,000 is what we believed that was out there. Of course, we lost 110 last year, and we've lost 110 2019 and 135 2020. So if it was at 2,300, then we were really close to 2,000, or perhaps a little less, 1,900 and something. So.
Okay, and that is between us and the Eastern Band both?
The Eastern Band, it seems like they're at 1 or 200. I want to think, and normally my mind works a little better. I thought they was at 186. What I thought was the last number that I heard.
Thank you, Howard.
Howard, we have one more question from Councilor Buzzard. Oh, more.
Howard, I have a couple of questions. The first one is, Counselor Taylor just talked about the Cherokee speakers, but do we have a number or the total of Cherokee speakers that live out of the 14-county jurisdiction? I have 8 or 10 family members that are Cherokee speakers, and I'm wondering, do you have any data on that type of stuff?
When we started calling in August of 2018, and we started calling and we started going to different areas, because at the time, several of us was working at CCO, that was the language department. We did meet speakers out and about. At that time, when we called, there were some that would say, around Jay, or Southwest cities right across the line there in Joplin, and then we had some in Texas. At that time, we thought there was 30. It was outside of Oklahoma. Now, when we start bordering into places like Muskogee, that's right on the border, or Tulsa, that gets confusing, because to us, they're still home to us. So, and when we talk to a speaker, they're not thinking about a line. They're thinking about, if they're in Arkansas, or if they're in California, that they understand that now. If they're on the north side of the Admiral versus south side of the Admiral, that's home to folks. So that could get fuzzy in them areas. They did make a pretty good distinction when we started talking about speakers that was across the border into Arkansas or Missouri.
So you don't have numbers on it. That was my question.
And we believe that there was 30. If we're talking about borders in Oklahoma, there could be more than that that's on the other side of borders that's in Oklahoma, like in Muskogee and places like that.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't really. I'm just wondering if someone says, "Well, do we have any speakers in California?" Do we know that?
There are some speakers in California.
Okay, and that was my question. I didn't know if you were tracking speakers outside the jurisdictional boundaries or not, but I just think it'd be interesting to know, because I have a lot of family that lives up in northern Oklahoma on the Kansas border, and they're all fluent speaking Cherokee. So it's not something that, it's just something that I've thought would be interesting to see. If somebody said, well, we have any speakers in California? Oh, yeah, we've got 40 out there. Or Arizona, we have 20. It wouldn't be a hard data to collect. It's just what I'm saying, Howard. But you're doing a good job on the thing. Those are just some inputs and questions I've had. So anyway, well, thank you for that. But I have one more. We had talked, this has been over a year ago, that I brought up the fact about Cherokee language teacher certification to the state of Oklahoma. And it just seems like has dragged on for over a year, maybe a year and a half now. Are we any closer to getting those people certified through the state? And what is the holdup that we can't get it done?
That's an excellent question, Councilman Buzzard. We was doing that pre-pandemic. We had met in Oklahoma City with the testing group that was over that, and we met again this December. We was hoping, when we first walked into the pandemic, we was hoping this would be over. When we figured out that wasn't going to happen, we made arrangements for a virtue type meeting that we met. I see Miss Betty Frog here. She was also on that. And so that started in the early part of December. And I believe that was our final review. And so that was, and the question is the test, in some areas of the test was so difficult, and that some native speakers wasn't able to pass it. So we figured, some of it was colloquialism, some of it was that sort of thing. And that testing group had kind of worked with the Mandarin language, that was a level 4 language. And so we worked with them And I believe we're on we did our final review, and we're in the stages of getting that through now. As to the earlier question about, Kansas and speakers living in Kansas and that sort of thing, sometimes they're home so much, Councilman Buzzard, that it gets a little bit confusing, with them. It's easier to identify them if they're in Washington, so, because they're not, home all the time. I would say one of the, in Stillwell, we had a 91-year-old speaker come up and said, I used to speak, I have no earthly idea if I still do. I haven't been home, all my family that spoke half speak to me. I don't know if I speak. And David Crawler started talking to her, and she started answering back. She said, well, I guess I do speak. Give me that book, I'll sign it, because she hadn't spoke Cherokee in 41 years, is what she said. Some of them are like that, it's moved away a long time ago. So them themselves sometimes question whether they speak or not.
All right, well, thank you, Howard. I think you're doing a good job over there, but I've had some people ask me about the certification, and some people have taken it that were really, really proficient in that, and they couldn't pass it. So hopefully we get it worked out sooner than later. So, but anyway, thank you, Howard. You're doing a good job over there for us.
Legacy Council.
Councilor Crittenden, did you have a question?
Todd, did you have something to add before I go? Oh,
Wow, I appreciate that.
No,
If that's
no, I just
okay,
thought
if
you
that's
had
okay
a-
with the rest of the
I
body.
just thought you had a response.
I do want to add a little bit to what Councilor Buzzard was asking, and then Howard's response. As Howard indicated, the pandemic has slowed some of the efforts, and this dovetails into some of the questions that Councilor Taylor was asking as well. So, it's a very labor-intensive, very personal exchange of when they sign the roll book and they have conversations to determine proficiencies and levels. Our hope is that once we get out of the pandemic, we begin at-large community meetings, we gather together, then we can start to do that through those community organizations and meetings and try to fulfill those that perhaps live outside the jurisdictional boundaries in other states and try to identify those. So the hope would be once we get outside the pandemic, we can start to identify those that maybe live outside the 14-county jurisdiction. And, obviously this is a lot of self-reporting and reporting of others that they're willing to sign the book. And I know we have some that haven't signed the book and probably won't ever sign the book. But we hope to take that information, and when this all started, of collecting these speakers, we didn't realize that this was going to be the catalyst for us to drive the vaccinations to them and try to put them front and center with our vaccinations. So, as you said, I'm very proud of Howard and the work that he's done, and it's helped us to try and connect with those speakers and get them vaccinated earlier through this whole program. So, long story short, we hope to pick that up a little bit further in earnest for those living outside the jurisdiction and identify those speakers as well.
I'm sorry, Chair. I meant no disrespect. I'm on about almost to chapter 2 of Robert's Rules. But I meant no disrespect. I just thought he had something to say. But
It's
anyhow.
quite okay.
But
Thank you.
Howard, what is the latest conversations about incentivizing young people to become speakers? I have.
Well, go ahead, Councilman.
Well, the first interview they done with you through the old newspaper, they asked about the language, and this has been my thoughts from day one, and you guys are doing great work. I mean, you're thinking of new ways to go about this and that, and it's great, but, well, not but I've always thought, incentivize this for our youth. And I'll just let me know kind of what the conversations have been on your end about that.
Councilman, and that's true. We have a few things that we're working on, you know, and we're working against the clock on here too, is that, we have to have more people involved. And you're thinking outside the box, thinking about the different incentives. Also, we have to compete in the 21st century, where, our babies have to see quality work on their televisions with people that look like them, speaking their language to them. That goes from games, so we're competing against, a little bit against the world, with that, especially with our youth. So, ideas is something that, you know, we're always trying to brainstorm on. I do know in our 14th generation program, one of the things we're incentivizing them is, you know, by giving them points and giving them, certain little, things they can do, and to take them to North Carolina, during the summertime, if they've dedicated their summer, or they're dedicating during the time. But that same group of people, when it comes, you know, we'll be competing in the drama club, we'll be competing, you know, especially for after school. So, you know, we've got to figure out ways to incentivize them. Also, you know, from Master Apprentice, the incentive of that is, you know, a education stipend or cash incentive that they receive. You know, if they're here this amount of times, you know, it's $10 an hour that they're receiving, and that allows them to receive their language, and yet they're able to go home and they still have food on the table for them to survive, because, you know, you're looking at 2,880 total emergent contact hours to 3,500 total emergent contact hours to become conversational in Cherokee, where if you have Spanish, you're looking at 730, right? So, we could teach 4 romantic languages in the amount of time that we teach Cherokee to an English mind. So, we have to have them fully engaged, and their heart has to be there, because if not, then we're only getting them to a certain level and they can lose it. We're shooting for actual standard of advanced low. That's the place that we believe that they no longer will lose their language. And so some of the things we can shovel out resources to a lot of different places, but if they don't hit a certain standard, then at 50 years from now, that person, if they didn't hit that standard, that person may know phrases, but they're not a speaker, and they lose their language. So, there's a lot of different things that we're trying. Right now, I know that we're also looking at, as a incentive for speakers. We've got 40, 50-year-old speakers that speak a probably advanced high language, and our superior and distinguished speakers are passing. So, that elder program or Institute of Excellence, we're looking at hiring this level of speaker and putting them with elder speakers for 3 years. Just kind of punt the ball, because we don't want to lose that higher register that Speaker Bird grew up around, because it's going to slip through our fingers if we don't try to save that level of language as well. So we're working on this level and this level simultaneously, and then trying to document all we can. So the next 20 years, when we have less and less speakers, it's still here and it's still a living language, yet it's documented to support them as well.
Yes, and again, I like what you guys are doing. I just and I have faith that, with everybody working together, a lot of these things are going to work out. I just an analogy that comes to my mind is if there's a big hole out there on our land here, somebody is going to get some incentive to go fill that hole in. And, we're worried about this hole that we have in our language. And, I've thought about it several times. And like I said, I got faith in the administration, this body, and what you're doing and that we can have some conversations, you know, an idea. I hadn't put a pen and paper to it, you know, just something I've thought about. By golly, if you know Cherokee, when you graduate high school and you pass a sure enough Cherokee-made Cherokee test, we're going to have some extra scholarship dollars for you, money. We're going to, you know, and that, you know, maybe that kid is focused on an Xbox, or maybe it's focused on playing the guitar, or focused on girls or boys. But once you start talking that money, the old parents are going to get the hot shot out. And I think, you know, that's kind of what I've been getting at, and I'm sure you guys have been getting at it too. But it kind of weighs heavy on my mind. And, you know, incentives is a fancy way, you know. My wife, you know, she gives me an incentive with a big old hamburger. But what I'm talking about here is pretty much money, and just what we could offer those young ones to, should their ears be perked up anyway? By golly, I'm sure, should they be perked up anyway? Yeah. But some of them need a little perking up, and that's what I'm getting at. Thank you for your time, and hope we can visit about it later.
Well, Councilman, I sure like how your mind is going. I will say this is the fight of our lifetime. When historians write this, you know, that they won't say, oh, look at what they did with casinos. Whether we save or lose this language, we will all be judged over it. And our descendants and our ancestors both will judge us on what we do. So we cannot fail. And so if there is something extra that we need to do, we need to figure it out and do it. I will say we do have a team that is working around the clock. When folks are sitting back and eating popcorn and watching Big Bang, they're sitting around trying to figure out how to help save our language. And it never stops. I mean, I think it's continual. These guys are guys and ladies are continually working on this. And so any ideas you have, you know, I'll be more than glad to meet with you, talk with you. And I do like
5 minutes.
how your mind is going.
Okay. Thank you, Howard. Mr. Speaker?
Yes, real quick, Howard, first I want to just commend you and your staff for what you're doing. You're doing an outstanding job. You know, like our chief of staff said, you know, the book, little did we know we were going to use that as our guide to contact all these people. I remember you and Ryan Mackey came into my office there at the old council house and said, how can we save the language? That was 10 years ago. And, you know, we talked about establishing this book with the input of Dwayne King, and we've come a long ways with that. And 3.5 years ago, council members, if you remember, the 3 tribes passed a resolution to assess the dilemma we're in with our language there at New Echota. And here we are today. We're really doing pretty well, considering, you know, what the circumstances. Back to Councilor Crittenden's incentive plan that he's talking about. Yeah, you have a group there in high school. You have to reward them somehow. Our kids today have so much on their plate. They're not just going to take an extra class over here because the parents tell them to. It doesn't work that way anymore. But if there is something, some type of reward at the end, taking care of their scholarships or taking care of spending money, yes, they will, you know, indulge in that. And that's one level. Then the other level I'm saying is, I've got a daughter that's 30 years old. She works for the tribe. She has good 401. She gets paid well. But she's not going to switch over to the master apprenticeship because it does not compare to the salary she's making now. Somehow we can sweeten that part of that age group and connect with people like the ones we have in an immersion and that group. Then we can connect all of those and maybe narrow those gaps there. But, you know, when you start your strategic planning, I'd sure like to be involved in that and see how, because we're talking about a curriculum here. We're talking about incentives here. We're talking about a methodology of the way we're going to teach this language. And you guys are doing an excellent job. You really are. I was reading there in January the 12th where the chief was on CNN talking about the language. CNN. the language, talking about a pandemic, how we're addressing these needs that we have. So we're out there. We're doing a lot. And if it's resources that we need, the council, we can appropriate these funds if that's, but we got to have a plan first. We've got to see this plan that's in place. So, Madam Chair, I thank you very much. Howard, keep up the good work. You guys are doing an outstanding job. Well done.
Thank
Go
you.
you Legions.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you, Speaker. Okay, we've got to move on and quickly. We've got Kevin Stretch on here for Community and Cultural Outreach. Hello, Kevin.
Deonagad, Galilega Jigadoha. Councilor Smith, glad to have you back in good health. We've been having weekly cultural Zoom presentations with that are linked to our CNCCO Facebook page, and then they're archived on YouTube a day or two later. So if anyone misses those, you can always go to our YouTube channel, Community and Culture Outreach. Week 1 are always culture. We have these every month. Week 2 is legislative updates. Week 3 is community leadership. Week 4 is miscellany. And also we have monthly CAUTA trainings. CAUTA is community organizing technical training assistance. And they're focused on in-reservation organizational leadership. December, we were finalizing all of our COVID relief funding, making sure those projects were moving forward before we found out that we were getting an extension on some of that. We're also working on CAUTA grants, applications, as well as sustainable community and community work grant applications. So those are, we're still reviewing those this month. Also, we've initialized the revamping of our virtual event format so that we can reach more in reservation and at-large citizens on a regular basis. And that will include revamping the Cherokee at-large website, improving notifications in res and at-large citizens via text and targeted social media and mailing. So that's kind of what we've been working on the last month or so at CCO. So I'll take any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Kevin? Looks like you're getting off easy. Thank you for being patient. Good to see you, Kevin.
Well done.
Thank you. Okay, and is Betty Frog still here with us? Hi, Betty. Can you give us a quick report on the National Treasures Committee?
That's what I'm getting ready to do. Mine, Siona God. Mine's short and sweet. Okay, we have 8 Cherokee National Treasures that have been confirmed to participate in the mentorship program. And all the members have adjusted class meetings to practice safety measures during this pandemic. In efforts to protect our treasures during this time of the pandemic, the annual treasure holiday luncheon was canceled this year. However, each treasure was gifted their annual $100 holiday gift card. Cherokee National Treasures will be featured at the newly opened Saline Courthouse Museum on a rotating basis. The following treasures and their work will be featured as follows. Calista Manley is January, February. Eddie Morrison, March and April. Burl Keeter, May, June. Dorothy Sullivan, July and August. The CNT staff was able to assist Cherokee Nation Health Services in the effort to ensure that all national treasures were contacted to receive their COVID vaccination. G Squad, what else?
Thank you, Betty. Questions? Anyone have any questions for Betty? Good report. Thank you. Stay safe.
Hawa.
Hawa.
Wado.
Yes? Oh, okay. Okay. No old business pending, no new business. Anyone have announcements for this committee? I have an announcement that lunch is ready, and also the next meeting is tentatively scheduled for March 25th at 10:30 a.m. Motion to adjourn. We're adjourned. Thank you all.